Welcome, comrades, to Working Crass podcast. We want to welcome our Russian leaders. We want to say no nuclear weapons.
No nuclear weapons.
No nuclear war.
No nuclear war.
We will just accept you as our Russian leaders. Working Crass podcast is here for our comrades. Is that correct?
Working Crass podcast is here for our comrades, and we welcome you to take out a pillow and get good nap. And
get a good nap on your pillow because there will be no nuclear war tomorrow or the next day.
That is exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say you should tonight sleep on your pillow, easy knowing no nuclear war.
Because we accept Russian leadership into our minds and into our hearts at Working Crass Podcast. And even if they work closely with our friends in China, we accept the Chinese government just as much too. We welcome a Chinese government. We do not want a nuclear war. We pray every day for no nuclear war. We welcome you to our country. Welcome to Working Crass Podcast, where we don't want nuclear war. That's all we're asking here.
Yeah.
Is that enough? Is that enough to at least maybe stave off nuclear war for the rest of the week?
Please don't nuke us.
Please don't nuke us, China. We are big fans of you. Look, and that's not, I'm making fun of China. That's not offensive. I'm making fun of the entire country. So it can't possibly be offensive. No, nuclear war has already begun, honestly, and it was begun by Will Smith himself.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
He said, "Keep Putin's name out your fucking mouth." Smacked Chris Rock. A nuclear explosion happened.
I heard he went and smacked Ukraine right off the map.
Ukraine is gone now, and we don't have to worry about any war between Russia and Ukraine because Will Smith has smacked it off the face of the earth. It's just a subject. I mean, we kind of missed it between podcasts here, but it's like, if we were to just dive into this Chris Rock, Will Smith thing, it's too late. Everyone's had a take on it, right? We watched a video where he smacked the whole universe. It's like, that signified to me that the memes and the jokes are over. We've exceeded our limit.
We reached ultimate memedom.
Exactly. It's like every take that you could possibly have on it has been said throughout the week, and the final one is he smacks the whole universe out of existence, and that's as much as we can joke about it. That's as far as we can go. It is crazy, of course. You're working.
I don't think it's crazy. I think that if somebody jokes about your bald wife, you should get up and you should punch him in the face. I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. You know me. That's been my crusade since the beginning.
You're like, I think you can joke about anything. You could joke about any race, gender, but once it comes to bald wives, bald
wives, bald husbands, bald babies, pretty much baldness on anything.
Babies.
I think it deserves a punch in the face.
Wow.
And I've said, when I started comedy, I said, I'm starting comedy to raise awareness for the bald community specifically.
I'm here to raise awareness for the baldies.
Mm-hmm. That's what I said.
Wow.
And I'm sticking by that.
Wow. That's a big take on Working Crass Podcast.
So if I hear some bald jokes slip out of your lips,
I'm going to get smacked live on the podcast.
I'm calling Will Smith to come and slap you live on the podcast.
If we could get Will Smith on this podcast, and let's be honest, it might be kind of easy right now because he's getting kicked off of everything else he does.
And he has no other options.
He needs some work. Will Smith, if you're listening to Working Crass Podcast, join us. Please join us. Join us here where we make fun of you.
And Jada, if you're listening to this podcast, let us join you in the bedroom.
Stay strong, Jada. Stay strong. Your head is beautiful and your head is brave. today I wanted to talk about something that I showed you a while back, but I think, now I saw a couple other people talk about it. Now it's been enough time. I think we could discuss this here. Can the future of comedy be found in socialism? By the Los Angeles Times.
Boy, I hope so.
Boy, I hope so. Because
when I think comedy, I do think that socialism and comedy go hand. Like when I think of like the funniest economic system, I think socialism.
When I think of Sarah Silverman, I think of the gulags. For sure.
My mind feels like it's in a gulag.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, when I'm listening to Hannah Gadsby, I feel like I'm in a breadline, for sure. No, so can the future of comedy be found in socialism? First of all, this is, I believe, an improv group. It says Comedy Co-op is a new endeavor formed by a group of local improvisers. Yeah. So just from this picture here, and, I full disclosure, we have done improv for many, many years. We've done sketch. We've performed at the Chicago Sketch Festival. We've, performed improv for the last few years here in Chicago. So improv is our background. And boy, do we hate improvisers. Not hate. Hate is a strong word.
Yeah. And it's not all improvisers.
There's some great improvisers out there. No, let me correct this. There's some great improvisers out there. They've all quit and moved to other places because the art form is destroyed. It is a piece of fucking garbage. I kind of want to do that. We have a sketch about Second City. I kind of want to do that on our channel. I'll talk to you about it later, but some of those, I think that might be a good fit for our channel, honestly.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So if
you want us to put a sketch out on our channel, for the people who view the YouTubes, let us know in the chat if that's something you'd like to see. Let us know. We might do it. We might not do it.
We might not do it at all.
We don't know.
Even if you say yeah, please do it. We might not do it.
We might just go because you asked us to. Now we're not.
Now we're not. Yeah. Anyway, definitely we have a bit of experience with this, so we could talk a little bit about improv here. So this is a Los Angeles Times article, and starts like this. This is Rick, says comedian Jessica Zapita, holding up a plastic tree. Rick is a cheap Christmas decoration that has been repurposed as a sort of talking animatronic puppet that Zapita liked to use in some of their pre-pandemic shows.
Already, this sounds hysterical.
Yeah, but
we're doing prop comedy.
Yes.
So you know that this is.
These people are so funny.
This is really cerebral.
This is good work.
And really edgy, pushing the boundaries comedy.
Absolutely. If you live in Chicago and by any chance you've never been to an improv show and one of your coworkers comes up to you and they're like, hey, actually, I do improv. I was wondering if you could come see my improv show. I have one this weekend. You might at first be tempted to go, oh, that sounds interesting. A comedy show. I'll go see it. But I'm promising you that all you're going to get is somebody holding up a plastic tree saying, this is Rick. And that's about the extent of all you're going to get. And the rest of the show might just be about how the tree's name is Rick. I guarantee this is the kind of stupid bullshit.
It's about how the tree's name is Rick, and then inadvertently, everybody else in the scene is also named Rick. We're all named Rick, and that's what's funny. Get it?
Yeah.
Get it? We're Ricks. We're a bunch of Ricks. And the tree is a Rick.
Oh, that's funny.
Get it?
Yeah, I get it. Like Rick and Morty.
No.
No. I thought I got it.
No. Don't ever bring that up in improv comedy. That's how dare you.
Don't bring up Rick and Morty in improv comedy. No, my point there was if somebody at work does come up to you and asks you to go to an improv show, don't. We should make a song called Don't Go to the Improv Show. Don't let me forget that. I got to write that down later. That might be a new one on the old album there.
A funny thing happened on the way to the improv show. I discovered that I just had a ton of other things that I had to do instead.
A ton of better things. Anyway, Zepeda uses this plastic tree as a little puppet. In seconds, they're giving a dissertation on how puppets should behave. I don't think they should cuss, says Zepeda, but I love cussing, but I like puppets to be pure. 10 minutes later, Zepeda has swapped Rick, a swear-free but self-deprecating tree, for a pair of books detailing the benefits of communal governance. Their ultimate goal: to build a better comedy scene. Am I stupid or do I not know what's going on?
I would say stupid.
Really?
Just this description alone, I'm already like, funniest thing that I've heard today.
Yeah, this is written by an improviser, is it not? This has to be written by an improviser.
Each word was improvised. They didn't know what word was going to come next. They were just like putting a word down and they went, yes, and they put another one down. And that's how that sentence was formed.
Well, here's the next sentence, which they perfectly led up to this. More than a year and a half into the pandemic, we've come to expect the unexpected. Perhaps the socialist revolution can start in an improv community? Now, what does that exactly have to do with a tree named Rick and the books that they pulled out? Are the books socialist books? Is that what they were saying? Or were they improv books like the improv tree?
No, as in all good comedy, you need a book of behavioral guidelines.
Oh, they were real books. That's what they were saying?
Well, they're improv books.
Okay.
But they're imaginary books that represent the real books that are out there that should instruct us on how we should behave. And I think the hallmark of a good comedy show is one that has strict rules and guidelines.
This is why improvisers, especially here in Chicago or any city, if you live in any major city, there is an improv community there. And, one of the things that, is a big tenet of improv comedy is... what is it? It's to take years and years and years of improv classes and to retake the improv classes over and over because they keep telling you to and not getting any funnier in the process.
Yeah.
It's a big tenet of improv.
That's probably the number one tenet.
Yes. Taking classes that at Second City, for example, which is right down the street here, will teach people stay away from blue comedy. They wouldn't like our podcast. I'll tell you that right now. One of our last podcasts talked about kids at a camp shooting ropes into a lake or something like that.
What? I think that's perfectly tame.
But Second City, as we've heard from our peers, in their classes specifies that blue comedy doesn't work. It's just not funny.
Yeah, we've heard that from a number of people that like their instructors would tell them, don't do things that are blue because it's not funny. It's low-hanging fruit. You're not being clever. You're not smart. Nobody laughs at blue. Laughs. If you are to say that a summer camp full of children are shooting ropes into the lake, nobody's going to laugh at that.
Nobody would laugh at that because it's blue and it just makes people, I don't know, just kind of uncomfortable. What you should do is go on stage and talk about how many abortions you've had. Maybe 12, 13. The higher the number, the more people will laugh and enjoy your set.
Yeah.
That's more stand-up, but yeah. Or stand up on stage and make some kind of social statement about the the current state of the country. People love laughing at that. One of my favorite improv moves is, the president, am I right? Oh! Isn't that president we got bad? Oh! That was a big one from 2016 to 2020. Woo, every improv show included a guy that was surprised about how bad the president was.
Yeah, that's a pretty common one.
I once saw an improv show where they said, can we get a one-word suggestion from the audience? And somebody went, Trump! And the whole improv team just cried on the stage for 15 straight minutes. Every one of them cried and held each other and said, it's going to be okay.
And honestly, that's the funniest improv show we've ever seen. So
Funniest one by far.
That should tell you a lot about the state of improv right now. Is that the funniest one is just a group full of people crying on stage together?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely what an improv class is like. Do you remember? This is something I've always hated. I understand the importance. We're going to get too much into improv and not get into this article, but I always hated this vulnerability exercise that they would do in improv classes where like you stand up. Basically, it's like stand up and tell us the saddest part of you. Stand up and tell us what makes you cry. And like it's so fucking self-serving.
Reveal your darkest secrets to us.
Look, authenticity is important on stage, and vulnerability is important on stage. But it's a little bit of a different. Just assuming vulnerability is just you crying about your thing. It's not the same thing. You don't go on stage and cry about your thing. Literally, improv classes would be like, my boyfriend, he said I didn't have a good butt, but I do have a good butt. And he knows that I have problems with my butt because my uncle touched my butt when I was younger. And everyone would give them like tissues and be like, oh, it's okay. You're so brave. And I was like, what part of this is supposed to teach us to be funny on stage?
Yeah. I think they just, it's like, it becomes less about the technique of using vulnerability in a scene and more about we're like going to be coddling each other so we feel sorry for ourselves and our partners for a bit, and maybe that bonds us together in some way, but for the most part, I think it just
makes me disgusted by people. Maybe I'm a bad person. I know that the improv class, like the whole idea is like everyone goes up and opens up, and so that we all have like this bond with each other. Now we all share this information, the deepest, darkest, moments of each other's lives. I just thought like, ooh, your dad touched your butt? Gross.
Wow.
I think this is why I always looked up to stand-ups more than I did improv. Because stand-ups are individuals that get on stage. It's not like a group. I don't like groups. I don't like, let's all feel sorry for this person in the group. Let's all feel sorry for this person in the group. I hate groups. I don't have school spirit, never had school spirit. I don't, I have friends, I have people, but usually my friends are independent people that care about themselves and are motivated by themselves. They're usually good people. I'm not saying that like they're selfish people that only care about themselves. I'm just saying that there's a little bit of something to let's care about everyone's feelings all the time because we're in a group and we all have to support each other. I'm like, no, I don't want to support you. I want to it's so stupid. I wouldn't get the same support from these people regardless. And also, I'm the person in the group that, like, if we're going to do a trust fall, I'm going to let you hit the ground because it's funnier. We're in a comedy class, not a catch people as they fall class. Comedy class, you fall down, I go, ha ha.
This didn't happen in a comedy class, but the trust fall thing and making somebody fall down made me think of this.
Yeah.
When I went, this was maybe when I was like in 6th grade, I think.
Yeah.
6th or 7th. But I went to a summer camp, and one of the activities they had us do to like bond with your like fellow camp group was this activity where you were paired up.
Yeah.
And one of you had to wear a blindfold, and the other person had to like navigate them through this like outdoor like little obstacle course kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my partner, her name was Zoe. Mm-hmm. And she clearly did not like me from the get-go. And she walked me straight into a tree.
It may as well have been a comedy class. Zoe sounds like a comedian at heart.
But I remember that was the first time I had to go to the infirmary that summer. One of several trips. But I walked into it hard because I trusted Zoe. I was like, we got this. I trust you.
Never trust a Zoe. Never, ever trust a Zoe.
No, but I'm sure she's out there probably killing it at comedy.
Yeah, she's on stage every night. One time I let this little Jewish girl fall right down. Or run right into a wall.
She's just out there tripping audience members, pulling their seats out from behind them so they fall on the ground.
She puts whoopee cushions in every seat.
Throwing banana peels out.
She gets on stage. Who farted? Which one of y'all farted?
She conscious like, shake my hand. Shake my hand. She's got one of them buzzers on.
Hey, pull my finger.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's funny. All right, let's get back to this.
But back to the story of socialist improvisers.
Enter the comedy co-op, a planned theater.
Which, honestly, when you think about it, I think a socialist improviser is kind of redundant.
Yeah? Why?
Well, I just assume most people doing improv are socialists. I just think you need to specify.
100%. Like, yeah, 100%. Yeah, emotional improviser might be another good one. Emotionally unstable improviser.
Like, goes without saying.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Like,
I was trying to think of another example.
I feel like we're the anomalies in improv.
Yeah. For sure, 100%.
Yeah.
And I prefer it that way because I look at the people in improv. I'm like, I do not want to be anything like these people. Which, like, I mean, speaking of which, how many improv teams have we seen that look just like this? And then this group walks out on stage and you're like, I know this is going to be funny.
Well, it's like they're trying too hard. Like, all of the pictures, we have to do a funny face because funny face says we're funny.
What do you want?
It's trying too hard and it doesn't feel authentic. It feels forced and fake and like they're overcompensating.
Yeah, what do you want to bet this team isn't together anymore? Improv teams don't really last that long for the most part. Yeah. They're all lazy pieces of shit that quit right away.
Oh, yeah. Well, they might be together, but there's definitely drama going on.
Oh, definitely, 100%. Someone on the team isn't vaccinated, and it's a big problem. And
like, it's actually probably one of them slept with somebody else, and now they're all like...
Always that. Oh, God. I was in band and went to band camp several times. Even band kids aren't as horny as these freaking improvisers.
They know where to draw the line.
They know where to draw the line. And those band kids fuck like rabbits. Okay? Every flute player does anal. No, not really. But no, the improv world, geez, they love to fuck their friends. I'll tell you that right now. They love to hump their coworkers. They're not their coworkers, but their teammates. That's the really weird thing is when you see these improv, I know we're not getting anywhere in this. We have, Lauren and I, since we've done improv for several years, run an improv theater for a year or two, or about a year, definitely during the pandemic. Like those 2 years of the pandemic, we ran that theater. I won't say which one because we're not giving our identities out too much here, but we know how this game works. We've definitely been a part of this. So we have a lot to say about it, I guess.
Yeah. We got a lot of thoughts.
We got a lot of thoughts, and not the hot kind of thoughts.
Not well, actually, both thoughts start with a TH. I was about to say the TH thoughts.
Yep, both of those thoughts.
Both of those start with TH.
They're both TH thoughts. I don't remember where I was going with what I just said, so I'll move on. Let's get into this article.
Let's get back to the article.
Enter the comedy co-op, a planned theater in the works by more than 30 local comedians. Okay. It's radical, says Zapita, who once ran a diversity show at Upright Citizens Brigade and has become one of the new group's largest proponents of sociocracy, which utilizes a series of committees to diffuse a hierarchical setup. Okay. So
a series of committees to diffuse a hierarchical setup.
So they're trying to diffuse the hierarchy within the comedy community.
They're trying to diffuse a hierarchy by implementing
a series of committees.
A separate hierarchy.
110%. So basically, we're setting up a new hierarchy to get rid of the old one. Which, by the way, all of the democratic socialists, all of the like ideas behind like we need a radical reformation of the way things work. Everything is, too based on hierarchy and patriarchy. They want the same system, just them at top.
Yeah, that's all it is.
That's all it is.
We don't really want to change anything radically. We just want to be in charge.
Exactly.
We just want to be in charge and tell you what to do because we get tired of being told what to do.
Exactly. We want everyone who has success to give up their success to us. It's always this, I don't want to get into the cancel culture stuff, but like this idea that like, okay, I cancel this person and then I get their spot. Like we take toxic people out of their spots to open up the spot for somebody who's more racially diverse or somebody who fits in, who deserves the spot even more. But in comedy, that's not how it works. I've always said this. It's like a tree. Like you're chopping down a tree and expecting to just replace the height of that tree, like to hop into that space and be as tall as that tree was. Well, no, not really. The person that you've canceled or that you've taken out of their spot grew that from a seed. They grew their audience. They grew their reputation. They grew everything. They put their work into it so that it grows. Now, they'll say, oh, no, it's corruption, and that person who succeeded only succeeded because of the color of their skin or their gender or blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I don't really see how that brings you any further. Like, you also, in the comedy world, you got to be funny.
Yeah.
Got to be funny, dipshit. Anyway, so they set up a hierarchy to diffuse the hierarchies in community. It is asking comedians to do something that we have never traditionally done, which is think beyond yourselves.
Well, I would say they could stop it at think and put a period there.
It's asking comedians to do something that we've never traditionally done, which is think.
Specifically, improv comedians.
Yeah. And it's speaking to a charged political movement of social reckoning when institutions large and small are being reevaluated on their diversity, equity, and workplace harassment policies. Now, already, I want to say, and this is the thing that our Second City sketch would be about if we do it. It is about the fact that this isn't like a new, fresh idea. This is a thing, that we've never traditionally done, is to reevaluate our community's diversity, equity, and workplace harassment policies. That's happening in every single comedy club in every major city and has been since 2016. Well, that is not new.
Yeah, it's also it's been happening in every corporation across America for
every major university.
I believe the word they're looking for is called the HR department.
Yes, 100%.
And it already exists. Maybe it didn't exist for improvisers because they don't have real jobs, so they don't know about it.
And a bit of the role of the comedian is to kind of step outside what's allowed in society, or what should or shouldn't be allowed in society, as your HR department would determine.
But now comedy needs an HR department.
Comedy needs an HR department.
It's high time that comedy gets an HR department to clean these streets up.
I'm so sick and tired of going from my job where I'm not allowed to saying things to go see a comedian where they say the things I'm not allowed to say at work. I'm sick of that. I want to go see a comedian who says what everyone at my work says and never crosses a line. I don't need an escape from what I'm not allowed to do. I need to stay trapped. I need to stay within the confines of what I'm allowed to say and think, and I want my comedians to not push me out of what my comfort zone is.
I agree with you, and I think it's a darn shame that not enough comedians are reprimanded and have a strongly worded email sent to them about their misdeeds.
Yes,
and I think more comedians need to be put on probation.
Oh yes.
Yeah, they need probationary periods.
We need to call their mommies.
We need to spank their little bottoms.
Oh man.
Get Will Smith. He's got a slap in hand.
Smack some sense into these comedians. Next time they make fun of a bald woman, smack.
Just remember, improvisers, the head of these radical committees is going to be Will Smith, and he will pull your pants down and he will slap your little bottom if you cross the line at all. One single toenail over the line, your bottom's getting slapped.
Do not be mistaken. Will Smith will spank your bottom. Born out of the pandemic, when a number of prominent theaters were singled out for a lack of diversity and spiraled into financial insecurity. The Comedy Co-op is an acknowledgement that improv and stand-up constitute a low-margin world serving those with the flexibility to spend thousands of dollars on classes. Participants also say the co-op fills a long overdue need in shifting a robust community away from brand name theaters like Upright Citizens Brigade, the Second City, I.O., and Groundlings into one that is owned and governed by the community. Great idea. And you know what's an even better idea? I've been thinking about this as a former teacher. What about a school run by the students? Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be sweet? The principal is Trevor. Trevor's the coolest kid in school. And Trevor gets to say what's cool and what's not cool. And the lunch lady is Ralph. Ralph knows what's good to eat and what's not good to eat. And he also has a bunch of Flamin' Hot Cheetos. So we know we're going to get the good stuff in lunch period. And
Ralph says, food fights every day. Because they're totally sick, dude.
Oh my God. Now the math teacher, that's going to be Stacy, because Stacy just got her tits and she's super hot. And I want math to be taught by a hot girl.
Yeah, I'm like Stacy and I have my tits now. And so that's like 1, 2. So that's math.
That's like math. Like my tits were like an A cup, but now they're like a C cup. And so that's like 3 times as big, and that's math.
That's math.
If X was my titties when I was 8 and Y is my titties now, that's like math.
If you can find the square root of my titties and divide it by the number of times Brad is going to ask me out, and subtract it from the percentage of anger that my dad has, that's math.
Yep. This is definitely all the, like, I mean, this is the socialism idea, right? Is that the workers should run the company.
The chickens should run the coop.
The chickens should run the coop. Exactly. It's like, it makes no sense. Because the first thing the chickens do when they run the coop is no more killing the chickens. And then the business no longer has a purpose.
Well, actually, the first thing they do is they shit everywhere.
And that's what happens to these improv communities. The first thing you do when you put the improvisers in charge is they shit all over everything.
They shit everywhere. They're rolling around in their own shit. Everybody stinks. It all stinks.
The comedy stinks. The shows stink. It's everything. And like, here's the thing. This is a long overdue need in big theaters like Second City, I.O., and UCB. This is already what they've been doing the last 4 or 5 years. Firing everyone in charge and putting diversity inclusion officers in their positions and putting other students in those positions, and they still say that they have problems. I do not understand this. Somebody that runs a theater told you and I personally, I don't think that I.O. closed down because too many people were criticizing them for racism. I think they closed down because they knew the accusations were real, that they are racist, and they couldn't deal with it. Because apparently I.O. said it was, money issues. Let me tell you this. When we first moved here, the whole idea, I.O. and Second City were supposed to be, this was supposed to be the mecca of improv comedy. These places were supposed to be packed with the biggest names in comedy constantly. They used to be.
Like, these would be the places where you would see the future comedy stars that would grace your TV screens. This is where the people who are going to be on SNL, this is where they get their roots. This is their start. It's here at these places.
Yep.
So this is supposed to be be like the best of the best.
And since we've gotten here, it's been nothing but diversity shows and nothing about what's funny. Nothing about this person is funny. Nothing about you have to see this because it's one of the funniest shows. It's you have to see this because of its all-female cast. You've got to see this team because there's 0 white men on this team. You have to see that it really is. That is what makes the criteria for a great show at all of these theaters for years and years. And what's happened? Only a couple years into living here, Second City has stopped doing shows in certain theaters because they can't get enough audience members in. IO shut down all. They used to have they have
2 stories.
They have 2 stories. They shut down their top story on certain nights because they were not selling any tickets in those theaters upstairs. It's absurd to think that the reason they're shutting down is because they're so racist. It is the overcorrection of that that is why no one is coming to see your shows, because you have no emphasis on what is funny and 100% emphasis on correcting history's wrongs at our improv theater.
And it wasn't just like it was only the diversity shows that weren't funny. It was literally like almost every show going on in those upstairs theaters was not very well thought out in terms of like the concept of the show, but also like the quality of comedy that you were getting was not great.
And that's why the people aren't coming to see the shows. And you know, that comes from the curriculum at those places changing too, because they demanded that the curriculum be changed. And from what we've heard from people is a big part of the curriculum was what you shouldn't talk about, what you should not joke about, and what is not to be allowed. And that was my experience in Dallas as well when we were doing, I mean, not as much. Luckily, we got less notes on things. No, we got more notes on things originally. And then we moved here. We did things at an independent theater where they let us try anything. And now after the pandemic, completely different. We can't try anything. And they kind of tell us how to run our show. And we stopped doing things there.
Yeah.
But, in Dallas, we got the same thing. We were doing a sketch show. And it was, we had a sketch where I was a shrimp that I had killed a shark once, and I said I punched him in the gut and I punched him in the cunt, and he left me alone. And they said it was a stupid line, and they said we can't say cunt because the owner of the theater does not like the word cunt. And that was the end of discussion. And it's like, well, what if the audience liked the word cunt?
Then they should all be slapped.
Yeah. It's just so weird. It's like, well, who gets to decide what can and can't be joked about when it's one, we were talking about this earlier, but it's like, if you just give somebody the option to decide what can and can't be joked about, the answer is always going to be, well, what I don't like.
Yeah.
What I like. What I like cannot be joked about. What I don't like can be joked about.
Yep.
And I think people think that comedy comes from a hateful place. I think there's people that actually think that all comedy comes from a hateful place. That's why all you can joke about, and let's just use like late night comedy shows for an example. That's why all it's okay to joke about is right-wing people, because I fucking hate them because they hate us. And so that's all we can joke about, because joking and laughing, it comes from a hateful place. And it's supposed to, because we should hate the right-wingers. And that's why when I get joked about, I feel like it comes from a hateful place, because all my jokes do come from a hateful place. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And I think you're probably right to some extent.
Yeah.
I do think there's a lot of that sentiment among...
Because it can be a joke. Like, I mean, Dave Chappelle, I thought that his last special was fantastic. I did not think that it was hateful towards trans people at all. And I mean, I'm not a trans person, so I guess I'm just not allowed to have that opinion. But I do have the opinion, so, what are you going to do? Take it out of my fucking head? You can't. Like, I'm allowed to have whatever opinion I want, and you're allowed to have whatever opinion about that you want. But regardless, the idea was that because he's joking about us, it's inherently mean. It's inherently hateful to us that he's joking about it, as though the act of joking is hateful. And I do think it's because for some people, the act of joking is a hateful thing, because all we joke about is the stupid right-wingers, and we hate them. And so therefore joking is hateful.
Yeah.
And we can't be joked about.
Yeah.
I think joking is a loving act.
I think slapping is a loving act. I think.
You think Will Smith went on stage and this was his way of saying, Chris Rock, I love you.
He's like, let me love you.
Let me love you for a minute.
I'm going to love you really hard for a second, right in your stupid mouth. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think.
What he was really saying was, I love your fucking mouth. Not keep my wife's name out of it. Everyone misheard it.
Yeah.
If comedy theaters aren't a path to getting rich or famous, perhaps one can show the Los Angeles performance world that there's a power in socialism. It's a model based less on propping up local celebs and more about supporting a theater because of its perceived morals and ethics. Oh, so comedy theaters really shouldn't be about helping their comedians succeed.
Comedy theater shouldn't really be about actual comedy. It should be about the morality.
Yes.
It should be about the ethics.
Comedy theater, think of a comedy theater less like a showcase of talented people and more like a homeless shelter where we're helping support the people in the community. It's a community center. That's what a comedy theater is. It's a community center.
It's actually just a co-op TED Talk venue.
Well, that is not wrong. That is very accurate. It truly is a co-op TED Talk venue. 100% currently, yes.
Come hear our poignant lectures on the socialist revolution. There is no actual jokes involved, but we call it comedy anyway.
Come watch our lack of jokes and total support for one another, and you'll leave the show thinking, wow, that was a show.
Our lack of comedy will astound you.
Why don't you read a bit? I read so much.
Where are we?
Top.
Okay. During the pandemic, I had a lot of time to engage with my socialist sensibilities, says actor-comedian James Mastrani, who kicked the comedy co-op where everyone who works or performs is part owner.
He kickstarted the comedy co-op.
He didn't just he kicked the co-op. He walked in there and he kicked the shit out of it.
But he says, during the pandemic, I had a lot of time to engage with my socialist sensibilities, which is like, okay. Actor comedian. That's my favorite is he describes himself as actor comedian, which tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, anybody who describes themselves as actor first, comedian second, means they shouldn't be a comedian.
What a lot of people might not know about like the comedy scene, because a lot of people, when I bring up like improv, they think that that's just stand-up that's like improvised in the moment, which is, it's not like improv.
Although some stand-up is like
for sure
improvised.
Yeah.
And a lot of great stand-ups are people who just joke off the cuff.
Yeah, or they write from the stage, so it's originally improvised and then they work on it throughout time.
Yeah.
But like a traditional improv show, when we say that, that's a group. It's an improv like troupe of people. They don't have an idea as they go on stage. Usually it's a long form, which is where they'll do scenes where
Although
they act.
A lot of people think of like Whose Line and stuff like that. They're more familiar with short form.
Yes, short form
like
improv.
The gamey kind of.
Short form improv is like Whose Line Is It Anyway, where you're, it's a game. It's like Whose Line, yeah.
Which that's probably why there are so many like actor theatery people in improv, because the short form games are things that like theater and acting classes like train you with as well.
I'll be honest, the reason why I signed up for my improv class was because some of the most fun I had in high school was in my theater class. I took 1 year of theater and we did improv, and I was really, really good at it, and I enjoyed it a lot. And that's why later on in life I was like, oh, I'm not really enjoying like my job. I want to find a hobby. That's the hobby that I went to because I found that interesting. So maybe I am one of those theater kids that I always whine and complain about.
Maybe I ended up in improv class because I called to see if I could take the sketch writing, and they told me, no, you have to take improv first. And then I sat there and was like, no. And I begrudgingly did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had some, I got very lucky. My improv class of people were just good, interesting, funny people who cared about being funny. And we ended up forming a troupe as well, and that was did a bunch of shows in Dallas. But that was and they're far more successful than me now because they're funny. They're all just funny people. They're more concerned with making each other laugh than anything else.
I like the people I did improv with for the most part, but I definitely was closer with the people that I did sketch with because I wanted to do sketch because I loved writing, and I had written a lot of sketches on my own just like as a hobby and like funny little like satire pieces, and I always wanted to figure out a way to like get those in front of actual eyes instead of just like living in a notebook. And I didn't really know how to do that. So that's why I ended up searching, because I thought, well, maybe like if I take like a sketch class, they'll have like a showcase or something and I can finally like actually get people to see something I wrote.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no, you have to do improv. And
that's
I was
so
like,
stupid.
But I was much closer with my sketch group, and our sketch group, our motto was, let's annoy the heck out of our teacher and not listen to anything they say.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. We're no longer together. So.
Well,
no, I do love all those guys. We're all in different places right now, like all over the country, just doing our own things.
Well, you guys are very, very funny, and
thank you.
And also not allowed to do your show at that comedy theater.
We were told it was too offensive, and it did not reflect the voice of the theater.
Yes, that's correct. So already canceled. You were canceled early on. So this guy this actor comedian who had a lot of time to engage with his socialist sensibilities, he kickstarted the Comedy Co-op. This is hilarious, where everyone who works or performs is part owner. Now that's just immediate. As someone who
that's a recipe for disaster.
That's a terrible idea.
That's
everyone's
the worst.
A part owner.
That is the worst. Like if you actually sent that to investors, because. Side note, as a side hustle of mine, I have written business plans before, like on a professional level for like startups and stuff. And one of the things that you have to like write into the business plan is like an overview of like the management and personnel structure of your business. And if you were to write into the management section that also all the personnel are also managers.
Who are the managers? All the customers.
Like you're not going to get anybody taking it seriously because they're going to think it's a half-baked plan.
100%, yeah.
Like that doesn't work because that's like too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, duh, of course. Does anyone want to go to a Walmart where all the employees are customers? It's like it makes no sense. It's insane. Although sometimes some Walmarts in certain parts of the country look like the customers and the employees look the exact same.
Yeah, you
cannot tell the difference. You just have to go around and ask people, "Do you work here?" They go, "No, but I can get your cart. Come on, let's go."
I think it's idealistic and it's noble to want everybody who's an employee to also be an owner. It's like a noble thing, but I think in practicality it doesn't work. It doesn't work well. It doesn't work efficiently. It's too many cooks in the kitchen.
This is the thing
people
that I think
are going to be constantly fighting over ideas.
And this is why, like, it's hard to have these conversations. Like, it's not like we don't really tell the improvisers here this stuff, our opinions on this, because it comes across as though we're mean people or mean-spirited or just don't care about the community or don't care about people, and that's not really the truth. It's just
speak for yourself. I am mean-spirited.
Let me finish.
I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
We're not heartless. We're not heartless people. I understand that it is a noble cause to want to run a community where everyone has a say, and one that is not corrupt and has some corrupt power that is telling everyone how they should and shouldn't do things. I kind of agree with that. It should be of the people for the people, but yes, that is very, very idealistic, and in practice it just doesn't work. Successful projects are organized, and so I'll say this for like some of our favorite comedy. Like look at some of the things that you like as far as art goes. Is that thing created by a staff of writers, or is it created by a specific creator that kind of runs the show? As I call it, creator-driven content. So things like, one of our favorite shows ever is South Park. Well, that is driven by Matt and Trey. Sometimes they have writers come in and help them with jokes, but for the majority of the work, they are writing, directing, and producing what comes out of the show. And that's what gives it that strong point of view, and that's what gives it, a focus that allows it to be really, really funny. Whereas a lot of these sitcoms that you have on TV right now that are written by a writer's room have no point. Like, the point of view is scattered. The goal is scattered. It's not as driven. I'll say as well, the original Daily Show with Jon Stewart, you listen to him talk, you feel his voice shining through the writing of the others. And occasionally you get, a joke written by somebody else, but it's all in service of his voice. Daily Show now, and especially a lot of those political like talk shows that you get late night, you can hear the writers in the person performing it always. SNL sketches too, you just hear the writers only, because there's nothing centered or driven about it. And that's the importance of having somebody at the lead, a creative driving something. Yeah. It's something I heard Bill Maher say recently, which I actually really liked. I was like, damn, I'm surprised he said that. He says, all my peers in late night are afraid to fire writers. I'm not afraid to fire a writer, and I will fire a writer because if they don't service the audience and their need to laugh, they don't need to be working here. And I call me crazy, but I agree. Like, that should be the goal, is to make the audience laugh. If they're not doing that, then they're not doing the job at hand. But everyone needs to have a job writing on a comedy show. Everyone deserves one, even if they're not funny and have no ideas. They're owed one. That's the idea of a lot of, I think, performers. Yeah. And like, because I took the classes, I'm owed a position at a network television show, even though there's nothing original about my act and I have no original ideas or thoughts whatsoever.
Yeah. I also think there's some, like, they equate the creator driven, the person who's like in that position of management, as being like uncaring or being what's the word I'm looking for? But uncaring towards, or uncompassionate towards the employees that are working for them. And I don't think that's true. I think
except Ellen. Ellen's mean.
And Oprah.
Ellen and Oprah are mean. From what we've heard, they're meanies.
Mean. But for the most part, I don't think that's what that means. Yeah. Like, you can have a really clear vision and give feedback and tell people what you want, and still care about them and still be compassionate.
Well, there's also something behind these ideas that, like, if you succeed and you sit atop the like business or the organization, that you've reached that because of your place in the patriarchy, or like you haven't earned your spot there. It's been given to you because of the color of your skin or your gender or whatever. Which I'm not buying. You have to show me a direct correlation between those two things. Yeah.
Well, I think they like, it's a miscalculation where maybe that has happened in a few cases.
Maybe it's contributed in some sense as a factor, but it's not the main factor.
Right. And because it's happened in a few cases, they falsely equate that as this is what it means for everybody.
Well, when you look at everything through the lens of race, and then, you look at people in power and you say every single person in power is in power because of a consequence of, race, then, I mean, what other choice do you have other than to just assume the white person got put in charge because they're white? They have nothing else to serve. I should be put in charge, Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so
here's why you always read. This is off topic.
Yes.
But I need a new glasses prescription, and I really can't see the screen.
I'll read. It's totally fine. I keep coughing while I'm reading. I don't know why. So the guy that started this thing, he says, I sent an email to about 150 comedians I've known over the years and explained what this is. I said, if this existed, could you see yourself supporting it? At the time, I was in this headspace of wondering if I was the only one feeling really insecure about my place in a community I've been in for so long. It was cathartic to get responses back, and that was my motivation to dig deeper. So, oh boy, I can see where this is about to go, so, okay, I sent an email to 150 comedians I've known over the years and explained to them what this is. Basically, it's a comedy co-op where you're part owner and all you have to do is perform and you get to make decisions about the business as a whole. Well, of course they were all fucking interested.
And it's also the people that you knew.
Yeah.
You didn't ask complete strangers.
Yeah. Everyone's going to be interested in this, especially like improvisers. They're down to start any project. They're just not down to finish any project. And they're down to start any project whatsoever. They're just not down to do it well or with any skill whatsoever or to plan. Improvisers do not plan either. That's why you get these terrible sketches, which I hate improvised sketches so much. And I've done some of them and I'm so sick of doing them because it's hey, we had no plan at all. Here's our video with our completely not planned out stuff. And is it ever funny? Nope. There's one or two, you can get one or two little things that were unplanned that are funny, and that's it. But you really have to have a vision for a thing and a goal and then play within those confines, and that's what makes something funny. If you have no ideas and you're just guessing, nothing makes sense. Nobody recognizes what you're doing.
Also, good luck getting improvisers to show up on time and stay for the full thing.
Oh, of course. And good luck getting improvisers to show up without having eaten a burrito right before and farting it up. You and I said this for years. We're going to improv classes when we moved to Chicago here for 2 straight years. We're in these improv classes and our fellow coworkers, or not co-performers, show up and they eat this huge burrito. This is like a regular thing. Different improvisers, they do this shit all the time. They eat a huge burrito and fart all improv class long. I'm like, if you're going to be on stage in a small theater with someone, why are you fueling up your gas right before? Literally. It's so weird. It's so weird.
It's like Pavlovian. Oh, going to be on stage. Need my fart fuel.
Better fuel up. Gotta fuel up for my scenes.
Gotta fuel up my butt.
I can't improvise on an empty butt. You gotta have a butt full of gas in order to perform.
That's where all my funny is.
Can't fart the funny out. You don't want to fart the funny out.
Oh man, yeah. That if you want to talk about the actual problem with improv comedy, yeah,
it's fucking Chipotle before improv
people
classes.
Eating bean farty burritos before a show.
I do not understand that. I don't understand.
Me neither.
I never ate before the class because I don't want my stomach to be upset while I'm performing with people.
I don't want to feel like I'm on the verge of a fart when I'm trying to think of something to say.
And what's funny is many of these people then in the middle of class, I gotta go to the restroom and are in the restroom forever. Smells terrible. They complain about stomach issues while you're there. It's like, why did you do this to yourself? What is the thought process here? I'm going to go be around a group of people. Better fart it up. Like, I don't understand. Anyway, so let's get back to this. He said it was cathartic to get responses back, and that was his motivation to dig deeper. Part of it. In the wake of the nationwide George Floyd protests against police brutality and systemic racism, combined with pandemic fears, practically no industry, including comedy, was spared from having its shortcomings on matters of diversity aired in public. A number of local stages were downsized before the pandemic, including Geek Culture Hub, Meltdown, and IO West. So it's, and many of these were downsized before the pandemic. Why? And again, we talked to somebody here that says their assumption as to why is because they were afraid of the racial reckoning that they were about to have to deal with. I say it's because they didn't have the fucking money to put comedy shows on anymore because none of the comedy shows were funny. You don't go to a fried chicken restaurant and get chicken that is lowering in quality every single time you go. If it tastes shittier every time you go to the restaurant, do you keep going or do you stop going?
No, I just assume that this fried chicken company doesn't realize the racial reckoning that it's about to have to deal with, and that's why its chicken is getting shitty and nobody is going.
Why is the company even selling fried chicken? Did you ever think of that?
Yeah.
Isn't that a little problematic to be selling fried chicken? It's 2022. I don't think we just go around selling fried chicken.
Yeah.
It's just
you're selling fried chicken, you're canceled.
But it's like to think that, they were afraid of their racial reckoning. No, they weren't producing a funny product anymore. The comedy club's purpose is to provide comedy to the audience coming in. And I don't understand, for some reason, the performers, and this is what the problem is, it's theater kids getting into, and political activists getting into improvised comedy. And the thought process is not what we do here is provide laughter for the audience. The audience has nothing to do with it. It's about me. It's about me, the performer. This place wouldn't exist without me. And before all of this stuff, it was, I should be paid for my shows. I'm doing several shows per month. I need to be paid. These terrible performers who cannot improvise their way out of a goddamn paper bag, who are terrible in their groups, and then want to get paid on top of it for their crappy showcases that no one was showing up for. And theaters were caving to that, and they were starting to spend money on these comedians that weren't funny. No one's coming to the shows. No one's paying. There's no money. Everyone's running out of money because of the demands of the performers.
And then the performers go, by the way, you also need to hire a diversity training specialist, sensitivity trainings for all your employees and management, which costs thousands of dollars that you already don't have. And if you don't do that, then we'll leave.
Oh, no, yeah. It was even whoever owns this theater needs to step down and give it to a black trans performer as soon as possible. And always, like, not that specifically, but, the demands are always whoever's in charge here needs to step down and give it to performers. And then the performers take those positions and wonder, why am I only getting paid like $5 an hour in this position? I'm the owner of the theater. I thought you'd make more money. No, you ruined the theater. That's why you're not making any money. And how many these theaters that were shutting down? Here's another thing. So many of these theaters that were shutting down were the ones that were implementing these ideas before the pandemic. The ones that have stayed successful are the ones that had kind of pushed back against this stuff. Let's say improv theaters, not successful, because this is what has taken over at improv theaters. It's really stand-up. Certain stand-up clubs have remained successful or risen in success because they don't have this problem. And when it does rear its head, they say, well, our job is to provide funny for the audience.
Yeah.
And the theaters that have done that have, been able to keep their success because they're offering a product to people and people are paying for that product. The product is funny. The product isn't preachy. The product isn't socialism. The product isn't you just for being you. The product is funny.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is something this episode of this podcast might not have been so far. Might mostly just be us bitching and whining. But hey, you get to know a little bit about us in the process. No, I think there's been some funny stuff in this one. Let's see. In July of last year, more than a dozen local comics told the Times that Los Angeles stages were plagued with problems of institutionalized racism, driven by a white-led power structure that marginalized diverse voices. Already just word vomit. Like, this means hardly anything. I know what they're saying, but it's still... Grievances on social media and petitions were sent to theaters such as Groundlings, Upright Citizens Brigade, and Chicago's now shuttered I.O. Grievances is correct. That's all this is about. It's grievances.
And I will say, if there's something that we should take seriously, it's grievances on social media.
Grievances on social media deserve to be taken very seriously.
Like, honestly... If you're not taking that seriously, what are you doing with your life? You just need to reevaluate yourself.
Oh, man.
Because everybody on social media is rational and nope, that's it.
The funny thing about this is, like, stages that were plagued with problems with institutionalized racism. I remember when this was all going on, and there was a bunch of, like, articles about, this, happening at improv theaters, and you hear about it from other improvisers when you go take classes or improvise at different theaters. Like, oh, the problems that all these theaters have with racism. It's just crazy. And you go read the articles, and it's like a black person wrote the article because they perform at the theater, and they did not get the part that they wanted. The part that they wanted went to a white person. And they go, this is institutionalized racism, that I didn't get the part I wanted. And it's like...
Well, it's confusing correlation for causation.
Yes, the black person did not get the part, so therefore racism. If you
didn't get the part and you happen to be black, doesn't necessarily mean it's because you were black that you didn't get the part. It could mean that there's a whole variety of other factors that went into it that is the real reason why you didn't get the part.
Well, and then the people writing these articles that were upset that they didn't get the part, the last thing I would describe those articles as were funny. I mean, these people have the people with grievances against these theaters have no wit and no humor about them. All they have is social media grievance.
Yeah. And I will
not to say that at certain at different theaters, funny black people don't get opportunities. They do, 100%. And funny women, I think, get opportunities as well. Do sometimes funny black people and funny women not get some opportunities? Sure, I'm sure it happens. I guarantee there's certain parts of the country where, certain people are left out of the conversation that need to be included in the conversation and deserve to be there because they're funny.
And on the flip side of the coin, there's also grievances on the other side of the coin where it's I didn't get this part because I'm not diverse in my identity, and that's the reason I didn't get it. And it's the same exact confusing causation and correlation.
Yes.
It's all the same. It's all the same.
There's plenty of white performers who are, it's because of the woke agenda I didn't get the thing I wanted, and they're also just not funny at all. And it happens on both sides for sure, 100%. I guess the problem is were you funny? Like, then you have an argument. If you're truly very, very funny and you didn't get the part, well, like, then maybe you can start to look into the other factors and have a pretty good argument
and
there.
Maybe it's that you're funny, but that wasn't the right audience for you. And you haven't found the right audience for you.
Yeah.
And they're out there somewhere, but that particular place where you were at wasn't it. And that's okay. And you'll find them.
Yep.
You just have to keep searching.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Please don't cancel us for any of this. Look. I'm just saying that I just have the controversial opinion that comedy should be funny. I know that that's a racy topic. I just think that comedy should be funny and not preachy.
And I think it shouldn't attack bald people. That's all.
Fair.
That's it. It should be funny and it should avoid bald jokes.
That's fair. That's very fair. Oh boy.
I think we can be done with this article.
You want to be done with this article?
I want to be done with it. I want to wash my hands clean of it.
Okay, that's totally fine with me.
I just there's only so much I can harp on about the state of
improv?
Socialism and improv comedy.
Lauren, we've only done an hour and 13 minutes on improv comedy. You don't want to do more? Look, if you're listening, thank you very, very much for listening to us talk about improv comedy here, because I hope that you got to get to know us a little bit, because that's something that we have been talking about for a while. And if you disagree, let us know in the comments how you disagree. I'd love to have a conversation about it, as opposed to just a shouting match. That would be sad. Anyway, thanks for listening to Working Crass Podcast. We're going to keep going. We have another thing we could talk about here real quick at the end. But before I do, I just want to remind you that we do video episodes of every podcast on YouTube. Go check us out, Working Crass Podcast. And you can find, pretty much everything that I would ever update you about on Instagram at Working Crass Pod. There's a link there to our YouTube and our main website and all that good stuff. Everything you could possibly want about us is there on that Instagram at Working Crass Pod. So check it out. Please subscribe to that YouTube page if you can. Click that notification bell on there if you want, because that helps us out as well. And leave us some comments. Share. Maybe we'll give you a shout out here. And
don't eat farty burritos before you do a performance anywhere.
If you're going to go sign up for an improv class, please don't go eat a farty burrito. You know what? Let me just say, any class you sign up for, if you're going to go be in a room with a group of people that, didn't necessarily sign up to smell your farts, don't gas it up. Don't gas it up beforehand.
Now, if it's a fart smelling class, by all means,
by
indulge.
all means. Burrito eating 101, fart smelling 101, fart production 101.
Fuel up.
Fuel it up. Okay, so this last thing we'll talk about real quick here at the end was this teacher on MSNBC that's talking about...
Boy.
I know, we watched this earlier. Is talking about this quote-unquote don't say gay bill, which, of course, if you, read into it, it's not necessarily about don't say the word gay, but just, not talking about sexuality and sex and gender with kindergartners and first graders, which... I think unfair.
Well,
it's not fair.
I think it's about not having an ideological agenda when you teach those things, and also teaching those things at in a way that matches the age level that you're teaching to.
Right. So you're saying to have age-appropriate conversations with students?
Age-appropriate conversations, and not trying to, inculcate them to any particular side of the spectrum. I'm not getting it, Lauren. Let me see what this guy says, because I think I have an opinion on this that might surprise you. Okay. Because I don't know. I mean, maybe we should just talk to these kids about anything.
It's twofold. It really hits hard in my heart, professionally and personally, both. Professionally, it truly makes me feel like I am not trusted as a professional. I know my kindergarten standards through and through, and nowhere in our curriculum does it have anything about teaching sexual orientation or sexual identity. So for them to say that's happening, it's kind of crazy.
Okay, I'm just going to stop there. So nowhere in the curriculum is there to talk about sexuality or, anything, or gender or anything. He's pretty much said it right here. We don't talk about this in the curriculum. So, why is there any problem having a rule against talking about it in the curriculum?
One would think that if it's not something that's taught in kindergartners, then it seems like it's not a big issue for kindergarten teachers. They don't have to worry about it.
It's just weird that they would pass a rule saying that we can't talk about sex with our students, because we don't. We're not supposed to talk about sex with our students.
It's like, then it doesn't apply to you.
Exactly. Then this shouldn't be a big deal. But we're about to see why it's actually a big deal.
we should be able to have discussions, and that's what we're encouraged to do in kindergarten. And then
yeah, so it's not in the curriculum, but we should be able to talk about it. As teachers, here's the thing. It's not really what we are supposed to be teaching them, but, we should be allowed to teach it to them.
Sometimes I just want to have a little heart-to-heart with my kindergartners about the intricacies of a pansexual relationship. You know
that South Park kind of recently where Garrison is just talking to the kids about he's crying because he got in a relationship with this guy.
Yes.
And he found out that he was cheating, so he went and cheated on him or something like that.
Yes.
It's it's too much and the kids just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's too much. You're not teaching the class. You're making it about you and your personal life. There's something a little weird about that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear.
Personally, because my kids do have questions. They want to know who my partner is in pictures outside of my classroom, and I should be able to speak to that.
So do you worry?
Well, they can. They're allowed to still they can say I have a partner. I don't think that's forbidden.
Yeah, I don't
think that's the verboten thing here. I think that's missing the point.
That is missing the point. And it's well, no, it's actually not. For this guy specifically, the pictures of his partner outside the class, he's in BDSM gear. He's an asslet. He has pictures of his partner in assless chaps. And the kids are why is there pictures of naked men outside your class? And he's like, it's I need to be able to tell them about, my BDSM. And
I need to be able to tell them about my puppy play that I engage in with my partner.
I need to be able to tell them about my little bitch boy. Oh, well, kids, that's my little bitch boy. And what if my kids ask me who my little bitch boy is? I'm just supposed to not answer them?
Oh, I'm just supposed to not tell them I'm wearing a butt plug right now? What?
I'm just supposed to walk into that classroom and not show them my nipple clamps? Oh, I'm just supposed to walk them in a line to recess and not act like I got a big old plug in my ass? Just walk straight? I'm supposed to walk in a straight line?
What, I'm just wearing it for me then?
I put that butt plug in for the kids!
That you won't even be able to talk about your own personal home life. I have a child in kindergarten right now. I know exactly that my child has two teachers, one of which has a daughter at home and is single. The other is married and has 4 children. I know everything.
I know that one of their teachers is single and was divorced because she was cheating on her husband. I know that she drives a red Cadillac. I know her social security number is. I know everything about my kids' teachers. It's why? What does any of this have to do? And when did they teach math at school now? When did they have time to teach math at school? Do they squeeze it in between stories about the teacher's personal life?
Well, I believe math now is we have an open relationship, so count all my partners up.
All right, kids.
Add together all my entanglements. I believe that's math class now.
Oh my God. All right, kids. If one of you were to make a joke about Will Smith's bald wife, how many slaps would that earn you? 1. Good. But what if you made fun of 2 bald wives? How many slaps would you get then?
1, because Will Smith's slap is so powerful. 1 is all it would take to get the hint.
That's correct, Trevor. Trevor, don't forget, you're the principal today. Sweet.
Food fight.
I declare food fight. Oh, that's right. Everyone needs to food fight. Trevor's the principal. We all decided we were using socialist rule at this school. The kids are the principal now.
Everything about their lives because my kid tells me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Students should know everything about their teachers' lives. Absolutely. I agree. This is so and again, we're talking about improv because we're former improvisers. I could talk about teaching as a former elementary school teacher. The kids would ask, I'll agree, kids do ask these questions. The kids ask all the time, oh, do you have a girlfriend or are you dating somebody? What's their name? And the answer is always, none of your fucking business. Let's get back to class. As a professional, you have to fucking teach the kids. What the hell is this?
Yeah, I taught college age students.
Yes.
And my rule was I don't want them to know that I exist anywhere outside of the classroom.
They shouldn't. They should not.
I think it's weird if they know anything about my private life.
See, this is the same energy as the improvisers too. It's not about the audience and their experience coming to your show. It's about me, the performer. It's not about my students and what they learn. It's about me and what they know about me. What's important for my students to come to school and learn about is me and my life. It's selfish. It's really selfish. As a teacher, and I know that this is harsh and heartless, you're a nobody. As a teacher, you should be a nobody to the students other than their teacher only. You should teach them. You should educate them. You should help them grow their knowledge and become better people. But your personal life has nothing to do with the students and should not come in contact with the students at all. It's wildly inappropriate for it to, because then the students have something that they can either A, use against you, or B, you can use against them if they, it's.
And that doesn't mean that you can't make certain students feel included because you can't share your own personal life.
Sure. Yeah, but you're not there to be their friend. You're not there to make friends. You're not there you're not there for a therapy session. Just like the Mr. Garrison thing, I saw somebody else share a meme of the Wet Hot American Summer Molly Shannon character. I think that's Molly Shannon, right? Mm-hmm. Where she, her whole thing is about her boyfriend that she just broke up with. And the whole class becomes a support session for her character, right? And it's like, the students are telling her how she should, or, try to proceed. And they do nothing other than focus on her relationship issues the whole class long. It's like, it's a selfish thing to do. It's not the kid's business. Your relationship is your personal life. I'm not saying that you can't ever talk about it or can't ever bring it up, but this huge concern with I can't bring up, tell my students about my partner is like, well, why is that what's important? If I don't know, especially if it's not in the curriculum. That's the thing is like, well, this isn't in the curriculum, so I don't see why this is. Yeah, so talk about what's in the curriculum. What time of the day do you get to that? What time of the day do you get to that? Yeah. Is it, well, I start the day with talking about what I did this morning. And then in the middle of the day, I talk about what I did while they were at PE. And then when they all come back from recess, I tell them what I did while they were at recess. It's like, no, it's not storytelling time.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's, this gets funnier.
You're 100% correct. That's what we do as educators. We build relationships with our kids. And in order to build relationships,
we build relationships with our kids. We get closer with our kids. We fall in love. We start a relationship. We give them little kisses and we take them home. Sometimes we marry them. It's like, no, you don't. Yes, you build professional relationships with your kids. See, and here's the other thing. They're not your kids.
Yeah.
I hate this. My kids.
They're your students.
They're your students. They're not your kids. They're someone else's kids. And this whole bill, the whole idea behind passing this bill is for parents to take some control over what their kids learn in school, not your kids, because they're not your kids. That's such a selfish way to look at it, is the students that come into my classroom are my kids. No, those kids belong to someone else who has the right to say what they want their kids to do in your school, not the other way around. You are not their owner. You do not get to decide that. And yes, I do think building relationships with students is important. As a former teacher, that is one of the biggest parts. Professional relationships. There's a huge difference between building relationships with my students. Well, they're not a friend that you met at a concert that you're going to share your secrets and talk about your relationships with. These are your students. You're building a professional relationship with them, one that is based around their education and preparation for adult life.
Yep.
This episode's real funny.
About your home life. You talk about what you do on the weekends. That's building community. It scares me to death that I am not going to be able to have these conversations with my children, because they're going to ask me what I did on the weekend. I don't want to have to hide that my partner and I went paddleboarding this weekend, because then they ask, well, what does partner mean, Mr. Bernard?
Now this is what I said. It gets funnier. That's my favorite thing. That's my favorite thing I've ever heard. I'm so scared I won't be able to tell my students I went paddleboarding.
Well, what you don't know is that the way they paddled those boards was with their big fat dicks. So
what if the students start asking questions like, what's paddleboarding? And I have to tell them that we whip out our dicks on either side of the boat and we swing them around to move the boat. What if they start asking? What if the students ask me if I ejaculate on my boyfriend's asshole? Am I supposed to say no? I do ejaculate in his ass. What if the students start asking me questions like, what is gay sex like? And how do I have it? What, am I just supposed to tell them that's inappropriate?
It's always good to snort into the microphone. Sorry. My apologies to the listeners.
What if the students say, what is gay sex like? Am I just supposed to tell them... That's what gay sex is like. You become a dirty little piggy. You get all muddy and you become a dirty little piggy with your dirty little pig, with your pig husband. You go paddleboarding and then you become dirty little piggies on the water.
And am I just not supposed to tell the students that it's not actually water? It's a giant river of cum.
Am I just supposed to let the students know that I'm not a dirty little piggy?
And the kids, they're not gonna ask.
No.
They're kindergartners. The word that they're gonna get hooked on is paddleboarding, not partner.
Oh yeah. Yeah, his point was like, what if they ask what's a partner? It's not. I'm being jokey about like the paddleboarding thing, because his point was, what if they ask about the aspect of the story that is like my partner, and like what I'm just not supposed to tell them. Like you're right. The students for
kindergartners.
Yeah, kindergartners, they're going to go, oh, you had a partner, like in a class, like when I have a partner, like...
Oh, like Woody, like howdy, partner.
Yeah, exactly. That's not what confuses them. Paddleboarding would be the interesting part of that story. What's paddleboarding would be the question from the students. Not, what's partner?
My grandma, she had a paddleboard.
And then, mister, she died. This was literally every student when you talk about that, And then another student hears them say that and they go, oh, my grandma, she died. And you got to go, oh, okay, all right. So let's get back to learning about music.
And then it triggers a spiral of every kid telling you all this stuff in their life.
My dad died.
My cat died.
Yeah. It's really, if you ever are with a big group of kids, if you ever have an opportunity to volunteer for your kid's classroom or anything like that, just bring up death once and just watch as the kids one at a time go, my grandma died. Oh, my puppy died. It's ridiculous. Everyone wants to tell you how their thing died. If he said my partner died and they had questions about that, I wouldn't be surprised.
And, I'm worried. Can I tell them what it means? I'm also worried for my kids. I have a little girl this year who has two moms, and the kids are curious about her two moms. They want to know about her two moms. If they come...
Again, I don't think that's verboten. I think they're allowed to talk about that.
Yeah, so we looked this up. They in the bill specifically, it does not. They actually changed the bill because they were worried it might be too restrictive, and they made sure that there's specific language in it that says this does not restrict you from talking about a student who might say have two moms or two dads. This is not for that specifically. This is about the curriculum in the classroom being taught around sex and gender. It's all it is. It's so weird to have these objections to it when it's not what the thing is about. And it's so disingenuous. And so many people just know what they saw on Colbert or something. Or TikTok, yeah, about this bill. And none of them have actually read what it is. It makes no sense. Although I haven't read what it is either, so maybe I'm wrong. But I've looked into some of this stuff too to see if, after we watched this originally, I did look in to see if any of this was something in the bill, and it's not. It's not. It's not about the conversations that you have about a student's parents. However, What he said there was, first of all, he said, I have a little girl. No, you don't. The two mothers have a little girl that attend your class. Again, they're not your kids. Second of all, he says, what if the other students have questions about that student's parents? I'm sorry, but you don't go tell the other students about the family lives of their colleagues, their other classmates. I'm pretty sure. That doesn't sound right to me. Like, I never, ever. Didn't somebody...
Yeah, I thought you weren't really supposed to do that because you're revealing confidential information.
Yeah, you're revealing private information about another student to some other student.
I mean, it shouldn't be made like a public lesson. Now, if it comes up like the kids are having a conversation about it, like, and the girl decides to open up, that's fine, fair game.
Mm-hmm.
But if she doesn't bring it up and the other kids are asking questions, you don't get to disclose that to the entire group.
And let's be honest here, this isn't like
you have to be the adult in the room who goes, that's not our place to discuss it. We're doing math right now. Let's move on.
Absolutely. And look, if the conversation is like, okay, some students are picking on this girl because she has two moms, then, as an educator, you do intervene. You don't want to pick on somebody. And if they have questions, I don't see a problem in telling a student like, well, she happens to have two mommies. Some people have a mommy and a daddy. Some people have two mommies. Some people have two daddies. It's not, but the problem is, and here's what I guarantee is happening after that. Not guarantee, but this is the kind of thing that's happening is, some parents have two mommies. Some parents have two daddies. What do you like? Do you like boys and girls? Do you like boys or do you like girls? It's like, oh, I like boys. Girls are gross. Oh, well then you're gay too. Do you know what gay is? Oh, you're gay. Do you ever like dressing up like a girl? Yeah, sometimes. I've worn a dress before. I wore my sister's dress. Oh, did you know that means you're transgender? You should tell your parents that you need to go to the hospital and get a sex change operation. Did you know that? It's like, it's these little things that I'm not saying literally the conversation goes like that, but there are examples. They get suggestive. There are these little examples of these activist teachers bringing these things up in classrooms, and it's kind of gross and disgusting. Like sexuality is a confusing subject. It has to be kind of. I think it's on the parents to kind of decide how you talk about it. I do think sex ed is important. I had sex ed, I don't think anybody's threatening to not do sex ed, although there's some conservative groups that think that you shouldn't have sex ed at all in schools and, whatever. I think sex ed is fine in like middle school to high school and, teaching kids about STDs and making smart decisions and in safe sex. And, that's all fine and dandy. And I think that, if that ever gets threatened, I'm kind of against that. But for the most part, young students who are a little too young to be talking about sex, there are a lot of TikTok teachers who say, yeah, I talk to my students about transgenderism all the time. And it's like, that's difficult. We're all having a national conversation about transgenderism and can't come to a clear clear consensus with many different aspects of transgenderism. It's not that it's a new thing. Of course, it's existed for a long time, but it's, as far as an accepted part of society, it's very, very new and very and still very confusing, I mean, gender roles, that's a very confusing thing as well. Like what's the difference between a boy who just likes to wear dresses but doesn't necessarily need to have surgery to change their gender? It's just a boy who likes to wear dresses, as opposed to, no, wearing a dress actually is what makes me a woman. And so now I do need to have a sex change operation to be a woman. And what does a woman exactly entail now? Is just wearing a dress? That's what makes you a woman? woman. I thought that that's, a contrived gender role that's socially constructed. So these are difficult discussions to have. They're very nuanced discussions. And so to simplify them as much as, well, I exist, and the saying I can't talk about it takes away my right to exist with my students. And it's just a straw man of the argument. It's like, no, like it's a complicated issue, and like it's a really complicated subject to understand. And some, when you're young, gender's confusing, and that's not really something that you need to worry about until you're a little older and you can make those decisions for yourself. And have those conversations with your parents and with your peers. And then, in middle school and high school with sex ed and learning about your body. And with a doctor.
Yeah. Although not everybody has parents who are as understanding and accepting, so I can see that's where, aspects of like your school's guidance counselor and teachers can offer, support and whatnot in those circumstances. But I do think that on a certain level, there has to be, again, the conversations have to be appropriate to the age level that you're instructing, because they're so complicated and full of nuance. And certain things are just especially at a kindergarten level, they're just not going to be comprehensible to a kindergartner.
Yep, like paddleboarding a boat with two penises.
Helicoptering your dicks to maneuver a paddleboard. Yes, it's going to be too complicated for a little kindergartner to understand, because their wee-wees are way smaller than a grown man's wee-wee. The physics alone just, it wouldn't work.
I'm so scared. I'm so scared that I'm not going to be able to tell my students that I went paddleboarding with my partner and we had wine and it was delicious. And
I kind of think
we sat under the sunset and it was beautiful, and I can't share that with all my students. I'm so scared. I'm so spooked right now.
I'm so scared.
I'm so scared
I won't get to talk about the moment when our lips touched and it quivered. And I knew that I wanted him to caress my face and my thigh.
Yeah.
And I got so hard in my pants. I'm just so scared I'm not going to be able to talk about that in class.
What happens in your relationship is not your student's business. And you know what? I'm going to say it. What happens in my relationship has never been anyone's business. My parents, my friends, my anything other than that person. That's why you're in a relation, like a romantic, intimate relationship. It's intimate for a reason. It's because it belongs to the two of you. I've never trusted girls that go tell their girlfriends about like everything about their relationship. I've always felt like that's kind of skeezy too. Just like, oh, let's go talk behind, because it always ends up like talking shit, or like it creates drama too. Because it's like, I don't know, your relationship between you and that person. I don't know. I don't know. That's always bothered me. Even like having like guy friends that start to talk about like what's going on in their relationships.
Yeah.
It's like, go talk to her. Why are you talking to me? Talk to her about how you feel about this. Yeah. I always talk to you about, like, if I feel something, I talk to you first, because you're the person that I'm in the relationship with.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help to talk to other people.
And I have a suspicion that most of the people putting out these videos of themselves being so scared to talk about things, and I kind of think they're not really. This is all kind of like, I want to make a show so I can get clicks on my video.
I get to be on TV.
I get like social credit points.
Oh, yeah. Corey Bernard is stoked to be on TV. He's on MSNBC.
Yeah.
The next time he goes paddleboarding, he's going to bring a little laptop and be like, look, honey, I was on TV. I talked about you, my partner.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think. I think most of this is just for show.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the like, oh, I'm real scared, I can't talk about this with my students. The common take is they haven't even read the bill. I think they have read the bill. And the reason why they're scared is because they were talking about some things that they weren't supposed to be talking about in their classroom. And they see that now that might be a problem for them.
Maybe.
There's a lot of teachers who have had the take lately, and it's true. I mean, this has been like widely shared, is the teachers that are like, parents can't make informed decisions about their students. Teachers and parents need to stay out of teachers' way when it comes to raising kids. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like, no, it's not your kids, you dipshit. It's so weird. That's like kidnapping. Like, in my mind, that's like kidnapping. Is it not? Kidnapping the kids psychologically for a period of time.
It's like Jedi mind kidnapping. Yeah. I am not kidnapping your kids.
Yeah. That's a big sign of fascism too, is that like one of the several signs of fascism is that schools turn kids against their parents. If their parents go against what the state allows, that the kids should be turned against the parents that the state runs schools.
I've got a solution.
Yeah.
Instead of handing your kids over to the teachers,
mm-hmm.
I think we should hand our kids over to the socialist improvisers. They should make all decisions for our kids.
All students are going to the comedy co-op.
I think that solves it.
If you're afraid of your kid getting told that their teacher was paddleboarding with their gay lover, with their bitch boy, I love bitch boy. He's my bitch boy. Why can't I tell my students I was paddleboarding with my bitch boy last night? No, if you're afraid of your kids having uncomfortable conversations at school, send them to the comedy co-op. They'll be part owner, first of all. So you're already sending your kid into a situation where they're part owner of a business. That's great. They won't learn how to be funny, unfortunately.
But they can talk about their two moms.
They'll be allowed to talk about their two moms. Not a problem. Oh, man.
And food fights every day.
And Trevor is still president. Oh, yeah.
Did they ever do that at your school where they had like...
A kid is president for the day?
Principal,
not president, yeah.
Because I remember they used to do this like... It was like a reading for you. Each book was worth a certain amount of points. It was like a ploy to get kids to read. This was back in elementary school. It was a ploy to get kids in my school to read, and they assigned different point values to the books. So like the thicker the book, the more points it is, right?
Yeah.
And so if you got a certain amount of points by the end of like there's probably like a halfway point in the year that they started tallying these reading points up. And if you got a certain amount of points, you could win various different prizes. And the biggest prize of all for the kid who got the most points was you could be awarded principal for a day.
Principal for a day.
Which every kid thought that meant you could change the rules. You could make it Saturday every day.
Kool-Aid in the water fountains. Hell yeah.
But what it really meant was you get to go sit in the principal's office for a day and not say anything.
That's 100. You can sit in his chair and you're like, whoa, the chair is big.
I don't even think you got to sit in his chair. It was literally like, you can sit over there.
Yep.
And do your work quietly, please.
Yep, that's correct. That's correct.
And you got a certificate that said you were principal for a day.
They did this at my school too, but it wasn't as a reward for reading. It was a reward for selling things. We had fundraisers, and
I thought you were just gonna say because we had fun.
Yeah, no. We had fundraisers, and it was always like, you sell the most popcorn, you could be principal for a day. It's crazy. All of the incentives like that. There was also like you can win a limo trip. The limo trip would be so cool, or you could win. You get to stand in the money thing, the money blower where the money blows around. You can catch the money. It was never about education. Incentives, never about how many books you read, never about your score on a test. 100% how many chocolates did you sell? if you sold enough chocolates, you get to do these things. Our school was about one thing and one thing only, making the big bucks.
Well, I mean, our school tried, but I will say the principal for a day, it was literally, you can sit over there next to the principal, do your work quietly. You can potentially get into the lunch line faster than the other kids, but you'll still get the same crappy lunch as everybody else. Oh, and your mom can be first in the carpool line. So,
wow.
You know, wow. a real prize.
Oh boy. All right. Well, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
We've gone on for a while. This might be our longest episode. Damn.
Well, we got heated.
We got heated.
We got real.
We got real in this one.
We got really real.
We got really real in this one. Look, Trevor, really real. What'd you learn?
I learned that socialist improvisers are never wrong. They're always right, and they're stunning and brave.
Oh, absolutely. I learned this from you in this episode, and that is that we should never, ever make fun of bald people. No bald people, no women, no children, no men.
No babies.
No babies. Because, baldness is braveness. Bald is brave, and bald is good, and bald is bold.
Bald is bold.
Bald is bold. That's what I learned.
That's why Zelensky will be shaving his head to show the Russians that he is bold.
I am bold.
He is bold. He is bold.
He is bold. Are you saying bald or bold?
I'm saying bold.
I am saying it clearly. He is bold. Goodbye.
Bye.